Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another video. This video is going to be kind of a hodgepodge of a bunch of different book related things all in one. This weekend I have a few book related plans. First and foremost, I need to go to the library and renew my library card. For the past like 6 months or so, maybe even longer, I have been trying to get audiobooks through my library on Hoopla and Libby, and I kept getting an error message and I could not figure out what was going on. I thought maybe my phone was messed up. I thought maybe it was the app. So I kept uninstalling and re-downloading the app. One of my friends was like, oh yeah, I get that error message all the time. You just have to delete the app, reinstall it, and it should work in a few days. I was trying everything and nothing was working. I was still getting the error message. Come to find out, it was actually just because I needed to renew my library card, which it didn't even occur to me that that could be the issue because I feel like I just renewed it pretty recently. But where I live, you have to renew it every 2 years. So I guess it's been longer than 2 years. It doesn't feel like that long, and it feels like that's kind of often to renew a library card, but I don't know, maybe that's the case everywhere. I just didn't realize it. So I need to go renew my library card. I figured after that I could go through the Libby and Hoopla app with you guys and find some audiobooks to borrow and listen to for the upcoming month. Then I wanted to make a Barnes run at some point this weekend. There's a couple new-ish releases that I've heard really good things about and I feel like I'm gonna really enjoy. So I wanted to pick those up. And then I also wanted to go check out this new secondhand bookstore that opened pretty recently. I saw someone post a video of it on Instagram and it looked amazing. So definitely want to check that out. And of course, after all my book shopping trips, I'm gonna do a little haul, show you guys what I picked up. There's one book I'm wanting to show you guys too that I picked up on my beach vacation a couple weeks ago that I'm so excited about. I have another little clip from that same beach trip where I attempted to start a summer reading vlog. It ended up not working out, so I only have the one clip, but I figured maybe I could talk about the book that I read on that trip as well because I do have a lot of thoughts on that one. So all kinds of bookish things into one for this video. I've been enjoying watching videos like this, so I hope you guys enjoy watching this one as well. Let's jump right in. Hi guys, I successfully renewed my library card and I've been having the best time going through Hoopla and Libby and borrowing all the books that sound good to me. I've gone a little bit overboard and I'm definitely not going to have time to listen to all of these before I have to return them. So definitely let me know if you've read any of these and if you liked them, what you think I should listen to first and prioritize. I borrowed one audiobook from Libby. The way Libby works, if you're unfamiliar, it is more similar to checking physical books out of the library where some of them are going to be obviously readily available, but a lot of them, especially the more popular ones, there is going to be a wait for and you have like a place in line, and that's the way it is with audiobooks on Libby as well. So I ended up borrowing one book. I ended up searching by books that are available now just so I could have them. There weren't really any in particular that I was like I would wait for, so I just wanted to see what was ready to go, and I ended up borrowing Adelaide by Genevieve Wheeler. This book has been on my radar for quite a while, like ever since it came out. I'm pretty sure it started as a book of the month book and I haven't heard much about it, but the reviews that I have heard have all been very positive, and I always see this book compared to Normal People, which is one of my favorite books. So anytime a book gets compared to Normal People, I'm like, I have to read it. But I'm pretty sure Adelaide takes place in the UK and our main character is in a bit of a toxic relationship. I think it's also a little bit coming of age, so it does sound like the subject matter and the themes of the book will be very similar to Normal People. I also have the ebook version of this in my Kindle library. It was on Kindle Unlimited when I downloaded it, so my plan is to listen to this one in tandem with reading the ebook, and I can't wait. I borrowed quite a few more audiobooks off Hoopla because the way Hoopla works is they may not have the biggest selection, but everything that they do have is ready to listen to right away. And sometimes I think they end up like rotating books out and books will be taken off the app, so it's not like you have unlimited time with it, but it's also not like people are waiting in line for the audiobook where you have to worry about not being able to renew it. So that's one thing I do really love about Hoopla. And the first audiobook I borrowed from Hoopla is Mixed Signals by B.K. Borison. This is book 3 in the Love Light Farm series. I love this series because I'm such a seasonal reader and all of these books take place in a different season. Book 1, Love Light Farms, was the wintry Christmas book and I absolutely loved it. Mixed Signals is the springtime book, which I read a few months ago back in the spring. Unfortunately, I ended up not loving that one. It actually remains the book that I've rated the lowest so far this year. year. I didn't hate it or anything, but I just didn't really love it. I thought it was kind of boring and I just didn't connect to the characters. So I was so excited to continue on with this series. It makes me kind of sad because I was really excited to read each book in each season, and it made me a little less excited to continue on. But Mixed Signals is the summer book, so I thought the audiobook would kind of be like a low risk way to go into it. I don't have to buy the book. I can just listen at my leisure, and hopefully I love it as much as I love Love Light Farms. So we're gonna give that one a try. I also borrowed Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. This one I think I also have in my Kindle library because it might be on Kindle Unlimited as well. So if that's the case, I will read the ebook in tandem with listening to the audiobook. But the synopsis for this sounds so intriguing. It says, there are 3 things you should know about me. 1, I'm in a coma. 2, my husband doesn't love me anymore. And 3, sometimes I lie. So I think our main character wakes up in the hospital. She can't move or speak, but she can hear everything around her. And I think she overhears her husband saying some very sus things. So it sounds very intriguing. I haven't read from Alice Feeney in a while, but I would like to read more from her backlist because I have enjoyed the books I have read by her. I also borrowed Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, and it says part 1, so I don't think it's the whole book in its entirety. It's a really, really long book. I actually have been reading the physical copy of this book since the beginning of the year. I've been slowly making my way through. It has been a while since I picked it back up, so I thought the audiobook would be a good way to get back into it. I kind of forgot some of what happened, so I may have to re-listen to some parts, but that's one book that I really want to get through because I was loving it. I just wanted to pick up other things and I put it down for a while, and now the motivation to pick it back up is kind of gone, so I do feel like the audiobook will help me get back into it. And then last audiobook I borrowed from Hoopla, which I've actually been listening to, I'm about 40% of the way in, is Burn for Burn by Jenny Han. This is her last series that I have yet to read. The Summer I Turned Pretty I read 2 years ago for the first time and loved it, gave it 5 stars, and it ended up making my favorite books of the year list that year. Same thing happened the next year. I read To All the Boys I've Loved Before, gave it 5 stars, and that trilogy made my favorite books of the year list last year. So this is the last trilogy that she has out that I have yet to read. I just love her books, even though they are very YA. There's something so nostalgic about them, and this trilogy feels very Pretty Little Liars to me, and I'm really enjoying it so far. So like I said, I'm a good ways through book 1 in that trilogy, Burn for Burn, so you'll hear my thoughts on that in my July wrap up. But the whole trilogy is available on Hoopla, so maybe if I get through this one quickly, I'll move on to the rest of the trilogy and read it all this month. But I feel like I'm going to want to spread it out a little bit because Jenny Han hasn't announced she's writing anything new, and I love her writing so much, so part of me wants to savor it as well. But I'm having a good time with it. It feels, like I said, very Pretty Little Liars, kind of like these 3 high school girls all trying to get revenge on people who have wronged them. A little bit immature, but still very, very fun and very nostalgic. So those are all the audiobooks I have borrowed for now. I'm so happy to have my access to these apps back because I love always having an audiobook on the go. I feel like it's the best way to get through more books more quickly. So like I said, let me know if you guys have read any of these and what you think I should listen to first after I finish Burn for Burn. Hey y'all, I'm here with a little book haul for you guys. I did end up going to the secondhand bookstore, and I went to a couple different Barnes locations. The first one I went to only had one of the books that I went in for, so I ended up having to go to a different location to pick up the one that I really wanted to get. But I first wanted to show y'all a book that I got earlier in the month when I was on vacation. We did a little bit of book shopping while we were there. We went to a couple local bookstores, and I ended up coming across a really exciting find. I got a signed copy of Riley Sager's new release, Middle of the Night. I was so excited to come across this one. I don't know how this bookstore had a signed copy because I figured, oh, he probably visited that store on tour, but then I was looking at his tour dates and he didn't even come to my state at all. So I'm not sure how this bookstore acquired this one, but I was so very excited to find it. Riley Sager is definitely an auto-buy author for me. I will read everything that he writes. Even if I don't necessarily love all of his books, I definitely want to read them all and give them all a try because I do find them all enjoyable. This one I am excited for. It sounds a little bit different than his usual because he normally writes a female main character, but this book has a male main character, so I'm excited to see how that's gonna be. In this one, I know our main character, back when he was a child, he was having this little like camp out backyard sleepover with his best friend, and when he woke up, his best friend was missing, and it's been years. It's still a mystery what happened to the best friend. He just up and vanished. So I think our main character is going back to this childhood home where all of these events took place, and he is uncovering some new things. It sounds very interesting, and I love that it sounds like more of a summery setting. I kind of thought his release from last summer, The Only One Left, would be more summery than it is. It's a book I'm currently reading. It was on my TBR for this month, and I'm a few chapters in, but the more I'm reading, the more I'm realizing that it actually does take place around October, and it does feel very like spooky season because it's at this gothic manor. So part of me wants to push reading that one back a little bit and jump into this one sooner. So we will see. I've heard mixed reviews on both books. I don't know which one I might like more, but this one does sound more like a summery thriller. And then I ended up picking up 2 books at the secondhand bookstore. It was a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be, and I kind of didn't think I was going to have to dig through to find the hidden gems. I thought it would be more so like having to hold myself back from buying too much, but there really wasn't as big of a selection as I thought there would be. But I did come across 2 books that I was very excited about. The first one is Less by Andrew Sean Greer. This is one that I just see recommended a lot, and I always hear good things when people talk about it. I think he is a writer, and I think he's kind of going through it. I don't know if he's like struggling in his writing, but he ends up getting a wedding invitation from his ex-boyfriend, and he's debating going, I think because his life doesn't look as great as he wants it to if he's gonna go see his ex. I think he also has been invited to all of these literary events around the world, but he doesn't really want to go because I don't think they seem that great. But when he gets the invitation from his ex, I think it does motivate him to go, and now he's like traveling the world. I don't know if he's trying to like make his life seem better than it really is, but I'm sure I'll figure that out as I'm reading. I think we're just gonna follow this guy and his problems and trying to find himself. So like I said, I've heard good things. It says on the cover, winner of the Pulitzer Prize. It's also blurbed by Ann Patchett. Says I recommend it with my whole heart, and she is the author of Tom Lake, which I loved. So I feel like I will enjoy this one when I do end up picking it up. And then I also picked up Wilder Girls by Rory Power. I believe this one is YA horror, and I've heard that it's basically like Lord of the Flies but with girls instead of guys, and they're all kind of quarantined at this boarding school, and they're told that there's this really bad virus if they leave, so they can't leave. It sounds interesting. I feel like it's going to be one I want to read more towards spooky season, so excited to give this one a try as well. And then I got 2 books from Barnes as well. The first one being Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan. This is her latest release, and I've heard very, very good things about this one. Her second release, Same Time Next Summer, is actually on my TBR for this month. I loved her first book, Nora Goes Off Script, so much, so I definitely am excited to read more from her. Her books are very like short and sweet, to the point. She doesn't say more than she really needs to, and I love that about her books. I haven't heard as good of things about her second release as I have Nora Goes Off Script and this book. This one does sound more similar to Nora Goes Off Script because it's about a single mother and then her husband leaves her. It's also blurbed by Abby Jimenez. She says a bingeable 5-star read. That is saying a lot. I love Abby Jimenez, and I can't wait to give this one a try. I definitely want to bump it up on my TBR so that I can get to it sometime this summer. And then the main book I was going out for that I went to a whole other Barnes to find is The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. This cover is even prettier in person. And to be honest, I don't know a ton of what this book is about. Based on reading the synopsis, it kind of sounds like marriage of convenience / fake dating. But the reason I wanted to pick it up is because people who have very similar book tastes to me have been giving this one 5 stars left and right, and I'm very, very intrigued by it. It also seems perfect for summer based on the title and the cover. I feel like you never really know what you're going to get from a Christina Lauren book until you actually read it for yourself, because all of their books are so very different from one another. There's not a whole lot of consistency when it comes to both the writing style of their books and the subject matter. It's one I'm gonna have to give a try for myself, but I'm very excited to pick it up because of the good reviews that I have been seeing from people who have very similar book tastes to me. So that is my little haul. Let me know if you guys have read any of these books and what your thoughts are on them, and let me know what books you think I should prioritize and pick up first. If there's any you want to hear my thoughts on, let me know in the comments. Hi guys, I literally have one clip of me reading this book when I was on vacation. It was supposed to be a part of a beachy vacation summer themed reading vlog, but while I was on that trip, some family things ended up coming up, so I was just not really up to reading or vlogging. So I scrapped the whole idea, but I did love that clip, so I wanted to include it somewhere. So I thought I'd just tack it on to this video and then tell you guys all of my thoughts on This Summer Will Be Different. I have talked about Carly Fortune a lot lately on my channel and all my thoughts on her books, so I don't want to go too in-depth, but to give you guys a brief rundown, Carly Fortune's debut novel, Every Summer After, I absolutely loved and gave 5 stars to. So I was so excited for her second release to come out, Meet Me at the Lake. However, when that book came out, I started hearing nothing but negative reviews for it, so it kind of put me off. I ended up not reading it until this past month, and I think I just went into it with such low expectations that it really pleasantly surprised me, and I liked it a whole lot more than I thought I would. So coming off of that book and just being so pleasantly surprised by it and liking it more than I thought I would, I was so very excited for her latest release, This Summer Will Be Different, because this book I've been seeing nothing but great reviews for. I've been seeing tons of 5 stars, so I just had really high expectations. When I was planning out my July TBR, I actually picked this book for the prompt I pulled of a 5-star prediction because that's how much I thought I was going to love this book. There's not really like a storyline or a synopsis I can give you guys. Basically, the trope of this book is best friend's brother. We follow our main character Lucy and her relationship with both her best friend and the best friend's brother Felix over the course of several years. It does take place in past and present timelines, and this one was a really slow start for me. It was honestly pretty hard to get into. I feel like I didn't actually get into it until well past the 50% mark, which was kind of surprising. I love Carly Fortune's writing so much. It always blows me away. She writes such a deep, heartfelt, emotional romance, and I just adore the writing style, but something about this one I just felt really disconnected from. I think it was mainly the characters. I just couldn't really connect to them, and for a good chunk of the book, you guys, I honestly thought that there was going to be a little plot twist in this book where she ends up with the best friend instead of the best friend's brother, because the way it was written, it truly felt like she had more chemistry with the best friend than with the best friend's brother Felix. I just did not feel the connection between those two until way later in the book, and by the end I was like, okay, maybe I actually do care about these characters more than I realized, because I really and truly felt like I had gone on such a journey with them, and they felt like very realistic characters as well. But I don't know, I just did not connect to them individually or as a couple, and I wasn't especially rooting for them. Like, I wanted them to end up together, but I don't know, the chemistry just didn't feel all the way there for me. Like I said, she literally had more chemistry with the best friend. I think I actually thought she was going to end up with the best friend for a good portion of the book. For me, I feel like I'm such a character-driven reader that if I don't connect to the characters in a story, it is really hard for me to fully enjoy it. The other thing that kind of threw me in this book is the timelines and the way everything was paced. Normally, I feel like Carly Fortune does such a great job of pacing the story. In both of Carly Fortune's other books, I thought the past and present timelines were done so well. I loved reading from both timelines. Like, I felt like she gave us everything we needed to know at the perfect moments, and it was so well paced. But in this book, we have our one present day timeline, but in the past there are actually multiple timelines and multiple storylines going on. So I don't know, it kind of threw me and it kind of confused me at some points, because things would be brought up in the present and I'm like, wait, did that happen? I can't remember if I read that or not in the past. Am I supposed to know if that happened yet, or is it going to happen? I feel like the past timelines were a little bit hard to read because they also weren't sequential. Things were kind of out of order and it just had me really confused. So I didn't love the way this one was paced, but like I said, by the end I did feel like I went on a journey with these characters. I really felt for them. The writing was so deep and I loved it so much, and I love the setting of this book so much. It takes place on Prince Edward Island, which is in Canada. It was a perfect beachy, summery setting. I really enjoyed it. It's also the same setting that Anne of Green Gables takes place in. It made me want to pick up that book as well. It literally had me looking up how much flights to visit this island are, because the way it was written, I literally wanted to be there. So things I did really enjoy about it, but overall I would say this is my least favorite from her. I did end up giving it 3.75 stars, which is funny looking back on it because that's the same rating I gave to Meet Me at the Lake. But I don't know, I think my expectations really affected how I felt about both books, because looking back on it, I feel more positively about Meet Me at the Lake because I went in with such low expectations expectations, it really pleasantly surprised me. But with this book, I went in, I think, with too high of expectations. Literally thought this might be a 5-star read. So when I think about my feelings toward it, I do feel slightly disappointed. But overall, it was an enjoyable book, very well written, and it did have a really deep, heartfelt, emotional romance. And there's a trope that she normally writes that I know people aren't a fan of. That trope is not in this book. So I feel like that could be maybe where some of the more positive reviews are coming from. But overall, it was an enjoyable one for me. Like I said, I think I just went in with too high of expectations. And I feel like out of all her books, I had the most to critique about this one compared to the other two. But again, that could be just because my expectations were so high. But I did enjoy it overall, and I would recommend it.